What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat basketball channel. Yesterday, the day before free agency had begun, there was a bombshell that was dropped by Shams regarding James Harden. Rumors had swirled that James Harden was going to potentially opt out of his contract to become an unrestricted free agent, and instead James Harden yesterday made the choice to pick up his contract option so he could work with the Sixers in finding a suitable trade partner. So James Harden has requested that he wants to be traded from the 76ers. He had a falling out and mentioned that he didn't like the way that the Sixers handled his potential for joining the free agency market. He did take a 2-year extension on a smaller deal size so that the Sixers were able to sign some players and veterans like PJ Tucker, and so he was upset. And I can understand that. He did take a pay cut to make the team's roster better. And so, yeah, I guess things have fallen through. And so Shams has mentioned that the New York Knicks and the Clippers were potentially going to be destinations for James Harden. And then they also mentioned the Miami Heat have now emerged as a potential trade partner for James Harden. So not sure how I honestly feel regarding that news that the Heat are interested. I'm not surprised, of course, because the Heat do need some talent. They do need a third star. In order to get us over the hump, the Heat had a obviously phenomenal playoff run and made it all the way to the finals as an 8th seed, only the second 8th seed to ever do that. But it would be tremendous to acquire a player of James Harden's caliber for a team that desperately needed help scoring, as well as playmaking and facilitating, as the Heat did not have a true point guard on their roster, besides Kyle Lowry, who's semi-washed, who had good moments in the playoffs, but then also some bad towards the end. So I don't know if I personally would want James Harden on the Miami Heat. I'm not a big fan of him. He is a player who does really well during the regular season, who packs his stats, but during the playoffs, every single season for the past 4 or 5 years, he's had a couple good games, and then he's had mostly horrible games. He's choked many times during big opportunities in the playoffs, and so even though he could, score for the Miami Heat, run the offense, facilitate, take pressure off of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, and create more space for the Heat's shooters. Make no mistake, I think if the Heat pursue this is definitely a plan B. Their plan A, obviously, is going all in after Damian Lillard. So I don't expect the Heat to actually follow through with this. The Heat had a chance to trade for Harden a couple years ago before he went to the Nets, but they did not want to trade Tyler Hero as part of that package. But yeah, I guess the Heat are going to investigate to see if they can make a trade. If they do make a trade, they definitely would have to include Kyle Lowry, who initially the Heat mentioned that they were planning to exercise the waive and stretch provision on Kyle Lowry, meaning that he's owed $30 million over the next year. They would be able to stretch that out into $10 million per season over the next 3 seasons. And so instead of doing that, they decided to keep him. And so what that means is that the Heat are either going to keep Kyle Lowry next season for that 1 year, or they're going to use his salary for a trade. So he could potentially be traded to the Sixers for Harden. And Harden, picked up his option for $35.6 million. So they would need to add in another player. If they could add in a Tyler Hero and get off his contract, then the Heat would be able to net and save $25 million, which would be huge for them. And they could use that to sign other free agents, potentially their own free agents like a Max Strus or a Gabe Vincent. But they also, if they did if they did trade for James Harden, then they would need some big men, as that was one issue with the Heat last year. So in theory, signing Harden would fill a huge gap for the Miami Heat, which is a facilitator and a scorer and another all-star to join the Miami Heat's core of Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler. But I personally don't think Harden makes sense, again, because of his past performances in the playoffs. He shows out during the regular season, then he's a no-show in the playoffs. He's had an injury history over the last 4 seasons. He played 60 games this year, 58 actually, 65 the year before, 65 the year before that, and then 36 games and 8 games. So, he's been missing multiple games, throughout the regular season over the past 4 or 5 years. And we know Jimmy Butler is going to rest, and he's had his fair share of issues and has been averaging around 60-something games per season as well. So I would rather have someone who's more durable, someone that actually fits within the Heat culture. I don't think James Harden fits within the mold of the Heat culture. He's not a good defender. He chokes in the big moments, and he's been on 3 teams now in the past 3 seasons, right? So he's left the Nets prematurely. Now he's leaving the Sixers prematurely. So I don't think he'd be too committed for the Miami Heat. So with that, I don't think it's a great idea. I'm sure other Heat fans are excited at the potential of adding a all-star caliber player like Harden, who averaged 21 points and 11 assists last season, which is pretty great, but he is obviously 33 years old. He is getting older. He is, at the end of his prime. So I'm not open to it, but yeah, let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you think the Heat should trade for James Harden, or do you think we should continue to wait for Dame Lillard? I think we should wait. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Thanks, guys. Talk to you soon.